Hi everybody, tonight we're going to make beef and broccoli. I'm going to make it in my Tupperware pressure cooker because that only takes half an hour. But you can do this exact same recipe in your crock pot if you don't have a microwave pressure cooker. So the first thing it calls for is 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds of flank steak. So you just cut it so it's a little bit smaller. My steak is slightly frozen in some spots and that I didn't take it out of the freezer quite in time, but it will still work. So we're going to put our steak in the bottom. So I'm just going to cut it into quarters here. You can see how thick this is. This is where it's frozen, but it will be absolutely fine. We're going to put that in. All right, and then we're just going to throw everything on top of it for the rest of the recipe. So we have our steak in there, and you want to season your steak with steak spice. Oops. So I'm just going to actually lift this one up and season my steak, and a little bit more. So it's about a teaspoon of steak spice. And then to that, you're going to, oh, it does say in a bowl. 1 second, let me get a bowl here. Right here, I got one. You're gonna add all this to a bowl. So the first thing it wants is 4 cloves of garlic. So I'm gonna put them in my handy dandy chopping prep. And so you can just see how slick this little guy is. So we're gonna put in 4 cloves of garlic. Oops, that's way more than 4. All right, now we got 4 in there. Put your little motor on. Then you just hold the top, take it close, and you can see how well it's minced. I'm just going to knock it all to one side and leave it a little bit more. But just like that, we have minced our garlic. So no mess. Garlic's no big deal. It's not, it doesn't make you cry, but onions, this thing is amazing for. Just chop up half an onion or 1/4 of an onion. And dice it right till it's so you have it chopped enough. So if you wanted your garlic finer, you could continue to chop. So we have our 4 cloves of garlic. We're going to use 1.5 cups of beef stock now. So cut, or 1/2 cup and 1 cup. Because we're going to save some of this beef stock. It does call for 1 3/4 cups, but we're going to use some later so that we can thicken up the sauce. So 1.5 cups of beef stock, 1/2 cup of low sodium soy sauce. So I don't have a total 1/2 cup, so we're going to start with this and use as much as we can of the low sodium. Then we're going to add a little bit of this one just to top it up. Okay, so 1/2 cup of soy sauce, a tablespoon of sesame oil. So you can buy this at your local grocery store. And this, as I remember, is not easy to open. Okay, so a tablespoon of sesame oil. And then a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. This together. So with our flat whisk cubes, give it a good mix. And then we're going to put this in them over top of our meat. Pour it nicely over your meat. And you want your meat fully submerged. So if it's not fully submerged, I have a little bit more than it called for. So if it's not fully submerged, you're just gonna add a slight, move it around, try to get it submerged. And if you can't, you're just going to add a little bit more beef broth to it now. So let's just see if we can get that submerged here. big pieces on the bottom, and I know this. So then you're just going to put the lid on, and with our pressure cooker, you give it a turn. It is locked. Push the handle down, it is locked again, so you don't have to worry about anything exploding. We're gonna put this in the microwave for half an hour. And in the meantime, we're gonna get our rice ready, and we'll be back with you here when we pull it out. So we just have 6 seconds here left on it before it comes out of the microwave. So ding! So you can hear it, it's just hissing. So it's totally pressurized, so do not open it. You see our pressure indicator is up, meaning it's fully pressurized. So like I said, don't open it, just let the pressure slowly release. There's a release valve here it's releasing from, there's one there. And we'll let it release, and I will come back and we'll be able to open it up. All right, so it's depressurized, so we're just gonna lift the lid, give it a turn here, lift away from us. It's gonna be steaming hot. And we're going to take our steak out. See how nicely it's cooked here. And we're just going to cut our steak into strips here. So you just keep cutting it into whatever size you want. You could even just pull it apart with 2 forks if you wanted. It is tender enough to do that. And I have smaller ones eating, so I'm going to cut these in half. Just to make it, oops, a little bit more manageable. Alright. You can see our steak is cooked all the way through. And it was just a tiny bit frozen. You want it to be as thawed as you can. I did take it out at about 1 o'clock this afternoon, and I put it in at about 5, so. Or of course you could just use fresh. Alright, almost done, so just get it all cut up. So this is, like I said, a really easy recipe. You can do it and cook it in your crock pot if you like. I'm sure it can be done in an Instapot. I just don't know how to use an Instapot. I use my microwave pressure cooker in place of an Instapot. Almost done. One more. So you can see it has quite a bit of meat in it. Oops. A few smaller pieces here. So there we have our meat's all cut. So that's done. And then what we're going to do, we're going to whisk together a 1/4 cup of beef broth. And to that we're going to add 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. And the reason we're doing that is we're just going to thicken our sauce up here. Okay? Tablespoons of cornstarch. Out of the way. And whisk this up in here as best you can. It does get pretty, like that goo that the kids make. Alright. You can see it's pretty creamy. And then we're going to add that into here. And give it a good whisk. Stir frozen broccoli into the here. And add a bag of frozen broccoli. And we're going to put the lid on. I should have done this while I was cutting the meat, but We're gonna cook it for 5 minutes and then we're gonna throw it all together. All right, so in 5 minutes we'll come back, we'll throw it all together and supper will be ready. So we have added our meat back in and you can see here is beef and broccoli for supper. So that's all it took, not much work at all. Anyways, and everybody's gonna enjoy. You can serve over rice or eat like this. If you want, you could even just add cauliflower and some carrots to it if you wanted more vegetables. But it's going to be great, can't wait to eat it.